2, 1. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. I have 6-time Gemini Award-winning Canadian treasure, the Thirsty Traveler, co-host of Iron Chef America. This is a big frickin' day.
You know what happens to Canadian treasures when they speak too much.
We have to throw it out.
Just gonna clear the room.
That's right. So I hear. We could talk about that if you want to as well.
We can talk about anything and everything today, my friend, Chef.
Kevin, how the hell are you?
I'm doing well. I told you yesterday we haven't talked in a while. We haven't seen each other in ages. But I told you to have something ready for me. Do you have something ready for me?
I sure do.
Okay. I have one too. But I'm gonna fancy you up, my friend. I'm gonna fancy you up. I'm gonna drink it in a martini glass.
Oh. I'm not going out of the can either.
It's very well played, sir. Let's do this.
And just so for everybody who's watching, this is Pick Me Kombucha Vodka Soda, made by my good friends in Vancouver at Pure Plus Kombucha, and it's raspberry vodka.
And I have the Cameron's Ale, which I'm pouring tomorrow night in Guelph, Ontario at my beer dinner. This is their Bear Red Ale.
Cool.
Longtime friends from Oakville. And it pours gorgeously into a martini glass.
Fantastic.
And I wanted to do this with you. We'll bring them as close to the computers without
spilling
liquid.
And as Kevin would say, right in the eyes.
Cheers, right in the eyes. It's not the 7 years of bad luck thing. You know what the toast was about, right? It was about spilling the poison that might be in your glass into the other guy's glass.
Into the other king's glass.
Which was the reason for the hard hit, right? To try and just get anything that you could of yours into theirs. Because a lot of fights were settled and discussed around drinking at nights, right? Our civilization is amazing. And you learn so much of it from wine, beer, and spirits, alcohol. You know, they would end the fighting on most days. On most days, you know, when the sun went down.
Right.
And then they would meet, whether it was a mead hall or whether it was someplace else. And they would say, you know, you give us your daughters and most of your cattle and your horses, and we can stop this today. Or we can just end another day. And, you know, and that conversation went on for hours over the course of the evening. And the more I traveled, the more I learned, the more I was impressed how much a role this stuff plays into our civilization, into our natural history.
It's in the same as food. It's our cultural circle. It's our connection.
Of course.
And hence the Stein. It's on the shelf behind you. I can't not look at it.
It is here. This is the baby that's traveled around the world with me.
That is an artifact now.
I'm hoping maybe one day somebody will give enough of a shit to put it somewhere where it can live on. It will probably go to my sons. Hopefully not a junk sale. It
should be a TV Hall of Fame piece.
Well, the Smithsonian. If
right?
The Smithsonian is watching right now. I'm talking to you.
We'll get them on there today. Hey, we're on Periscope live around the world and LinkedIn Live. God only knows who's watching.
There you go. Well, I was offered $9,000 for this in Taiwan. I was over there with Bourdain doing some Red Cross hurricane relief work after the tsunami. And we were there to launch our new seasons.
Right.
Both him and I and Ian Wright from Pilot Guides.
Right.
And it became more of a cause to raise money and awareness for the suffering that was going on there. And one night, I'm a bit what's it called? Fly by the wings, fly by the seat of my pants.
Right.
And I just held up the mug and I said, "Who wants it? Who wants it?"
Oh,
and
no.
We got up to $9,000, and then I lost the balls to sell it. And I felt really bad the next day because that money would have been split by me and Red Cross Hurricane Relief. I'm not going to give it all to Red Cross Hurricane Relief.
Right.
And I never sold it, and it's here today, and it's worth
priceless.
Weight in pewter.
It's priceless, my friend.
I guess it is. So it's
So
probably on myself.
I've been telling people for weeks and months that we were going to do this, and everybody goes, "What? You're getting Kevin Brush on?"
So why for you? Okay, no offense to you, because I'm going to interview as much as you're going to interview me today.
Let's go.
You know, but what did we do so well? What did these three guys, one from Newfoundland, one from Calgary, one from Toronto, travel in the world? You know, what did we do so well that made us such an interest to you?
I have to say that the first time I saw Thirsty Traveler, I went, "That is the coolest goddamn job that anybody could have." Number one, and
it's until the Leafs win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like nobody's
it hasn't happened since black and white TV. So, and the show itself was something that nobody else was doing. I mean, at the time there were cooking shows or food shows, but nowhere.
Cookery was the term for recipe design shows, like let's learn how to cook, like the Galloping Gourmet,
right?
Things like that.
Yeah,
and then around the time Bourdain and I hit, and we've argued historically whether his came first or mine came first. He has several more incantations of his shows. Yeah, the experiential factor, the travel factor of food and drink really started to bubble. And there are a couple other drinking shows out there, but we were first.
And, oh yeah, for sure. Well, the other cool thing was that also it's Canadian based.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw you on Iron Chef, like I had been watching the Asian version, and then I saw the American version and went, "Hey, that's Kevin!" That was a big Canadian moment for me.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I was the Canadian content. The show is co-produced by Food Network in the United States and Food Network Canada.
Right.
And Food Network Canada needed to get their money out of the show somehow, so that went into my pocket, and I got to be on the show. They brought me on the show. Pardon me. I hit puberty a couple days ago. Thank you very much.
And congratulations on that.
Once again to you. I said we were going to fist pump.
I know we did.
Way too much cheersing.
Mm.
They called me because they liked what they saw of me in Thirsty Traveler. We would go out with a template script.
Yeah.
And it would be a real like Cole's Notes guide. And that was it. And it wasn't always right. It wasn't always correct. And it was really up to Brad Schwaga, my brother, the cameraman, who shot every piece of tape. I called him my dance partner. Right. He would know my things. He would know my moves. He would know my words, and then my move in. And he got it all perfect, right? There can't be enough kind words for Brad and Mike Murden, who was like my younger brother, who did all the audio on the show and would argue with me on what shirts I was wearing on what day, going, how am I going to mic this shirt? I'm going, you mic'd this 2 months ago in Belgium, yes. And he goes, no, I didn't. No, I did. No, I did. And somehow the three of us, with the support of others, we found a way to make things work. But a lot of it was writing on the fly. I did go to school for radio and television at Ryerson. You learn how to adapt very quickly when you're traveling the world. It either beats you up and you fail, or I guess in our case, to be a bit braggy, you kill it and you succeed. And so, we were writing as we went. Every piece of that show was, a muscle part of my life.
Right.
And I love that we were traveling through the worst time in the world. We were traveling through War on Terror, SARS, avian bird flu, shoe bomber, liquid and gel bans.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times we were given a chance to just tap out UFC style and say no. And we were like sled dogs. We like, if we weren't traveling, we weren't happy.
Yeah.
we went and went and went, and we were global ambassadors. And that's when I started calling myself a global citizen, although I'm hugely respective to be Canadian. Cut it right there. Right,
okay, that's another drink.
You owe me 50 cents.
That's it.
I'm doing this for free, but you owe me 50 cents. Everybody that sees my tattoo,
Okay.
everybody's watching this right now, and I just spilled my first little bit of beer on my computer.
Oh, no. So, what is it, 50 shows?
58.
58.
Yeah, which is, when it television networks look at like syndication numbers.
Sure.
And 65 is, and I learned this kind of, I think, from The Simpsons. That's 5 days a week for a quarter of the year.
Right.
So 65 is what you're aiming for. And then you got a nice little library, and then you can start, the networks and the guys that kind of the planners and the creators and networks, they want to just start thinking about future things, right? I mean, Iron Chef America, I think we hit 244. We made more Iron Chef Americas than we made more of the amazing Japanese original show.
Sure, yeah.
Our show was taped live, but then edited.
Right.
The amazing thing about Iron Chef Japan, right, or just Iron Chef, was that it was on Sunday nights, and on the rare instances that they would have a tie, they would go into a one-course 30-minute battle.
Right.
They would delay the news. And when you tell people that, right, like, I'm sorry, the news is being delayed because of Iron Chef. But it's really no different than our Canadian experience with hockey. Right. How many times do you remember Peter Mansbridge coming on at CBC and going, we're going to delay the news right now. Everything's good in the world. We're going to get back to hockey, and we'll see you after the overtime.
As it should be.
Right? Japanese food, Canada, hockey, apparently.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it was. I'm very proud. It was the scariest thing I ever did in my life, working on that show with Elton. But I don't want to say it was more satisfying than Thirsty Traveler.
Yeah,
I probably would never say that, but
it's a different animal completely.
They're very different. One's a studio with 17 cameras, like 2 less than Monday Night Football.
Right.
And we had 1 camera and maybe a backup on Iron Chef, and on Thirsty Traveler. And they were both great. And I think my DNA, I'm a wide thinker, and I don't want to do one thing. So I love the fact that I could combine television and culinary and mixology, all into my personal being. And it was, I'm extremely fortunate.
You're also on YouTube with Thirsty with a Twist. A few of those are up.
Yeah, we well, once the plane stuff dried up, I found myself cruising by the airport at night, just looking at the planes going into the sky. And no, I really missed doing the work and doing the passion and talking about quality product. I don't say many things negative. I mean, I'll swear a bunch on a Friday and Saturday night, or on a Monday morning, whatever.
Like a good Canadian.
When I bang my knee, oh man. But to really educate and enlighten people and entertain people all at once is, I think, something that I'm really good at, something that I've gotten better at, and something that I really enjoy doing. So if I'm not doing it, then you're seeing Kevin Brosh at his less better. Right. And when I'm able to do it, like tomorrow night in Guelph at the Albion Hotel for the beer dinner, and just introduce people to new products and new things and to new tastes and to new flavors and to new pairings, that's my reward. I mean, the payment's nice, but that really is my reward. I'll stay there all night and
awesome.
Knock people's ears off.
I like I said to you yesterday when we were on the phone, I mean, as soon as I started talking about you having you on and started mentioning it online, people started emailing in and messaging in saying, oh, I had Kevin at this event, or I had him at that event. It was the best event we had, and it was amazing, and all of this. I mean, so
That means the world.
Absolutely. And just the feedback alone has been amazing.
That means the world to me, man. It still does. It still does. I haven't tired of it. I haven't aged to that. You know, I'll stay in the room and I'll sign every autograph or answer every question or take every selfie. I know guys that don't, and I just don't know how they can do that.
Right.
If you want to spend your hard-earned money to come out and play with me, I'm going to play with you until you kick me out of the city.
Perfect. You know? Perfect.
It's core. It's fundamentally, you know, it's the core of my belief.
So we started to talk a little bit yesterday, and I said we have to stop.
Yeah, you said that. You said that. You said so,
number 1 episode, single malt Scotch. I need to hear this for Thirsty.
Yeah. So that was our very first episode. I mean, if you ask me tomorrow, hey, I'm trying to get the drink in this shot.
There we go. And again.
I'm gonna lean in. Okay, guys, I'm gonna tell a story. Such a jerk. I told you I hit puberty, right? It's amazing. The growth is going to come in. I'm going to look like you in a couple of weeks.
There you go.
So the very first show of Thirsty Traveler was not too long after 9/11. So it was a scary time to be traveling. Okay. And, you know, we cut our teeth on what I believe is one of the most difficult spirits in the world. Single malt whiskey has so many dimensions, you know, from the lowlands to the Spey to the highlands to the islands, Orkney and Islay. And although I was good at what I did because I came from children's TV to do drinking television.
Right.
I've always been inquisitive and I've always been interested. And if the material personally interests me, then I'm better at my job.
Right.
So I know how to ask a good question, and I'll look at the questions on the paper if there are even questions on the paper, and I'll pick better questions if I don't like them, or I'll find my own questions based on my personal interest. But I'm going like, oh my God, like single malt whiskey. And I remember going to Lefroy, right? And I don't like peat and smoke, and I never smoked growing up. I grew up in the back of a Volkswagen. My mother smoked because she was a nervous driver. So I'm kind of looking through the smoke and all the windows up in the car. Just
everybody smoked in that time. That's the way it was. It was a blue haze.
A hockey game, everybody smoked, right? And but we got there, and we were always treated. We were mostly treated finely. I'll leave that if you want to pick up on that later. We were treated very finely at Lefroy, and I got to meet master distiller Ian Henderson, who had been there for years, and he has since moved on to several other distilleries. I think one of which is Bruichladdich, if I'm not mistaken. And they took me into the royal room, and you know, we've been doing this job for 3 days. And I get to sit in Prince Charles's appointed chair. It's this green, beautiful leather strap-bound chair.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there. Ian Henderson is sitting in the lesser chair. And I'm kind of going, like, shouldn't this be like, you know, because I'm always involved in the television aspect of it as well, right? Sure. You're not going to tell me to walk from here to there and say this and then cut and where's my makeup? No, I'm going to challenge you on each and every, you know, decision that we make. And I remember Ian's hand shaking when we were going to go in and do a slow cheers like you and I have been doing. And the shaking can come from tremens and like from 25, 30, 40 years of drinking. Uh-huh. I don't believe it was that. I honestly believe he was nervous about being on camera.
Right.
And I told Brad to stop for a second, and Brad and I have a series of codes that we'll use and a series of tricks that we'll use to get the best out of a guest, because the show is about them. It's not about me.
Right.
You know, I get to reap a lot of the rewards, but really the better the company I can have on camera, the better experience we're all going to have.
Yeah.
So I got Brad to stop tape quickly, and I went to Ian. I said, sir, you know, and I normally say brother, but I remember in this instance, I said, sir, I said, you have nothing to worry about. You do the way I just, the way I explain your scotch, your single malt, you know, if you don't like it, you can jump on me. You can do whatever you want. Like, we're here to celebrate your good work. We're not here to like throw it under the bus. And we got back up, and we actually got a pretty decent interview out of it. Maybe not the best that we've ever done on Thirsty Traveler, but not a bad one. But I was so concerned for him, because at the end of the day, it's not about what I think. It is about the story I tell.
Right.
You know, and again, I'll go back to Bourdain on that, and you know, Tony, God bless. When you have the availability, when you have the personality, when you have the want to throw yourself into something so strongly, I mean, that's what it's all about. I come from a background of hospitality and the desire to be, I guess, in public, you know, or on television. I so much enjoy my time on television, whether I'm behind the camera or not. You know, when I'm both sides of the camera, I enjoy. I do both. I'm bi. I don't know, dude. But to be able to storytell about food and drink is damn impressive, man. I'm really happy. The fact that, you know, you're coming after me and wanting to take your valuable time and talk to me is amazing. The fact that I got to maybe excite and inspire you in the past, I think is amazing.
Absolutely.
You know, Absolutely. It tells me.
And thanks a million for doing it.
Well, hey, tells me I've done my job correctly.
Absolutely.
You know, or as correctly as I could do with so much alcohol in me.
So, traveled the world, been all over Hell's Half Acre, as we say in Canada.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
No?
Is that what we say in Canada?
Well, I'm a Maritimer originally, so maybe that's a thing.
So you're like my cameraman. You can be my cameraman. Mike Merton, he's from Newfoundland, but he moved up to Calgary. Hell's Half Acre.
Well, hey.
I got the leaf on my tat. I got the tit, and I got the tat on my tit, and I've never heard that before.
Well, okay. Well, that's.
I don't know if that makes me a good Canadian or a bad Canadian.
We're always learning.
We're always learning. There you go. Well played, chef.
What's the coolest thing about this industry, anyway?
What, that we always can learn.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something to learn. People say to me, why have you been in hospitality for 35 years? I said, because I learn something new every day. It's the coolest thing.
What got you into hospitality?
I needed a job when I was a kid, and I started off as a baker when I was 16.
That's tougher than being a cook.
Well, I have a lot of respect for bakers, I'll tell you that.
So do I.
There was a Make Work project in New Brunswick where I started out, and with Hans Myers. And he said to me when he sat me down for the interview to come in, he goes, "Don't tell me it's because of some money."
They didn't know Hans.
We probably do.
When you said his name, my ears popped up, but I can't place. But so he didn't want you to be. He wanted you to be there for the passion of being a baker, not because you needed $5.75 in your pocket an hour.
Absolutely, and for him, it was, if you're going to come because you want to learn something.
Yeah. So,
and I did. And out of 18 people in the class, I was the only one that finished. And he almost killed me one day for telling him off.
So this wasn't a restaurant. This was school.
This was a project that was set up by, at the time it was called Manpower, which of course now would be post-secondary education and training and labor.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I wasn't in school. I was just a little bastard, and didn't live at home. So I had to have something.
How little of a bastard?
Very.
Okay, so I don't know if that means a lot or a little. You're being really undecided.
So it went from there, and then continued on with cooking, with managing, with owning restaurants, et cetera, and here we sit. So it's been a long journey for me, and it's always a passion. Like I said, when people say to me, you know, why do you keep doing it? It's because it's something new every day. And when people say that they want to get into it, I say, first get help, and then then come and talk to me.
Well, I started back a house, and you know, these are people growing under fluorescent lights,
Right.
right? They got a big claw on their ankle, and every time that we go out and celebrate birth, life, death, marriage, house buying, anniversaries, you know, we forget that there's a bunch of people in the back just breaking their backs,
Yeah.
you know, doing this work. So I think restaurants, just generalizing, restaurants used to be a place where you would hide until you figured out what you wanted to do with the rest of your life.
Right.
I think we brought it around again. And I realized that in Europe, as we traveled heavily through Europe with Thirsty Traveler, you know, you can make a good living. You can put kids through university. You can have vacations and have all of life's experiences, you know, but you have to be committed, you know, and that's why you see still in Europe to this day a lot of gentlemen waiters, gentlemen servers, you know, stewards. But the back of the house is tougher, and I don't think. I mean, even though that's where I started,
yeah,
that's not where I knew I was best placed.
Right.
And I learned that by accident. And when I got up to front of house, I was like, oh yeah.
This is the groove.
Not that I don't love and appreciate and adore the work that goes on in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I just, you know, the conditions aren't always great, you know, and the situations and the timelines and all of that. And I think I'm as much as I am a decent chef, and a great mixologist, I'm a great communicator.
Right.
And that happens better front of house than back of house, you know. But hospitality means the world to me. It's a noble art, like being a nurse or being a doctor, taking care of others, right?
You know what? I'm glad you said it that way, because what happens is kitchen folk who get a little too full of themselves and say, oh, on TV they've glamorized this and glamorized that, etc. And in my opinion is televising our industry has brought some respect back to it.
It's
now a respectable profession again.
I agree with you 100%, and I believe that it has taken some away a little bit. You know, I've seen guys, I've seen friends within the industry, you know, win a week or two on a show and get seed money to open up a restaurant, and they're just not ready.
No.
You know, but we think more these days about what we put into our body, how we consume. I think we all do. We've all learned a better appreciation. Whether we live it every day or not is not the point. The point is, you know, we understand local, 100-mile, seasonal,
right.
Organics, craft, you know, artisan. And we apply those terms, and I think we're doing it more and more. I came from a loving enough family that had no concept of those things.
Right.
Everything came from the little frozen box above the bigger, slightly less frozen box.
Right.
You know, I would pick strawberries in June with my Aunt Yvette, and I couldn't believe the taste of the strawberries. They bounced off my brain. It was like I was doing heroin or something. Like, it was unbelievable. And those experiences were the first thing I did when I moved out of my house to go to Ryerson. I was 19. I moved downtown. I got a shit apartment, and I bought a wok. I went to Chinatown, bought a wok, because I said, like, I'm single now. I'm dating. I'm going to need to know how to cook. It was a very rudimentary plan, but I'm proud to share it to this day. It's a very caveman plan. You know, date plus cooking might equal sex. But I had to know how to cook, because I didn't know how to cook.
Well, that was a key factor.
I knew how to warm up fish sticks.
Yep.
I knew how to make hamburger helper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, I wasn't unloved. It was just there wasn't a lot of food culture in my family. It was
a sign of the times too.
Yeah, there was some baking back then. There was some baking. And I remember this real quick. Really, we would go to our family's favorite restaurant called Watts Family Diner. And on report card day, if I got a good report card, I could have the 3-piece chicken and fries. But regular days, it was just 2-piece chicken and fries.
Right.
And you always got a little Neapolitan ice cream.
Yep, in the paper cup.
Yep. Well, they served it in a metal bowl.
Oh.
But we didn't eat out lots,
Right.
It was fish and chips and combo number 5 Chinese food and KFC and look at where we are now.
A different time.
Yeah.
For industry, for producers, for all of that. We've kind of gone back in a lot of ways to the way that my wife and I often refer to our grandparents' age as far as when they grew their vegetables, and when you went to grandma's house, the carrots tasted different. And now we call that organic.
Yep. But that we didn't have that term back then.
Right. It was food.
It was food. And people knew the calendar. Like, I mean, even though it's maybe it's changed a bit with global warming, but like people know that strawberries, at least in this part of the country, should be coming out in the 3rd, maybe the 4th week of June.
Right.
July 1st at the latest, or something's really gone wrong. All my touch with the wineries, we know when the grapes are ripening. We know how long they got to hang. We know when they should be harvesting.
Right.
Making big money decisions on these things rather than buying from, well, not in the grapes case, but Mexico for avocados, or Puerto Rico, or we're understanding it more.
Right. Well, that kind of ties me into a question that I had written down actually. I wanted to talk about food trends as well. I mean, when we're talking about food, we're talking about drink trends. So now on every corner, there's a craft brew place, and
too many.
Oh, there we go.
There's too many. They're not all going to survive. All these.
Well, they're not all good.
Well, yeah, I see. I don't want to say anything bad, so I'm just not going to say anything on that part. But I'm going like, there's too many. I'm going to post my my beer notes on my social media page immediately following this.
Awesome.
It's some work that I was supposed to get in this morning that I couldn't do. Sometimes you like to keep everybody in surprise at what they're going to get, and hope that drives ticket sales. Sometimes you show them a list and they go, oh, and then they don't come out.
Right.
It's a great night either way. But this year on my list, if I touch my computer, I should be able to plug in, right?
Robbie can come and save us.
Okay. Hang on just 1 second. I'm just going to move your beautiful face over here. Hang on. So in Ontario right now, 284 breweries, craft breweries, and there's 80 in the works. And this is largely probably Bay Street, big ass money that, guys got out of the game early, made their money, and they want to do something, and they go, I'm going to become a beer maker.
Right.
And they either hire a brewer. Yeah. Or they think they can become a brewer, which, you can play that game at any, mall. There's a brew your own beer stuff. But I think there's too many, and we're gonna see a massive shutdown at some point.
Well, I mean, there's that end of it, and funny enough, I was watching you in Germany yesterday, and there's 14. There was the episode. There was 1,400 breweries. It was when you were at that.
I mean, beer doesn't travel in Germany. Every town has 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 craft brewers. And they only make beer for that town. Beers like Lowenbrau. Lowenbrau in Canada is made by Labatt.
Right.
Brewed under license, made at Labatt breweries, like your very good Labatt brewery out in Edmonton.
Yep.
Right? Or made in London, Ontario. And it's brewed under license. But it's not Lowenbrau from Germany.
Right.
Germany, you have a Lowenbrau. Man, it tastes... I mean... it's a frustrating question to answer. It's a frustrating thing, right? I do believe that we have too many in Ontario. I'm not gonna change my stance on that. And I guess why is because, and I'll echo what you said. There's several mediocre ones,
Right.
and
these things they weed themselves out.
they do eventually weed themselves out. Like everybody wants to be this or that. How many kids want to grow up and play basketball?
Right.
680 basketball players in the NBA. I got 680 kids playing basketball in my neighborhood, in my 1 kilometer radius, and they're not going to make it,
Right.
And I hope the best for all of them. But if you're coming into the game at 45, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to say that. Tiger Woods was playing golf since he was 4 years old.
Right.
I speak in sports analogies a lot. You come into the game when you're 45 and you want to kill it, or is it a hobby?
Right.
And it's okay to be a hobbyist.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, to learn how to brew your own beer. I used to make my own beer when I was 25, 26, and it wasn't the best beer. I knew that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I was proud of it.
Sure.
I call it midweek beer.
Yes.
Yeah, I would save up for the weekends, and then I would buy the really good stuff.
Perfect. So, India's pissed at you.
I don't think the 1 billion people. You want to rephrase that?
Hey, you said it.
We did. Rafa Nadal was asked just this morning. The tennis player Rafa Nadal, he's playing in London, and he was asked if being married to the same woman for 15 years we couldn't even understand the question. It was kind of riotous. It was like, if it makes your tennis less acute or something like that. And he couldn't understand the question. But okay, so a couple of people in India are pissed off at me. The show was recently taken off the air. It's had its run, right, which we'll talk about later because we're trying to get it back on the air. But I got what I would consider to be, and I'm a pretty genial guy, right? Like, I'll call it hate mail. Like, how could you? How could you take it off the air? We love your show. What are you doing? And now I can't watch it anymore. And I'm kind of going like, well, it exists on YouTube, and I'm really sorry, and it's not my fault.
Right.
I don't control it.
Yeah.
And it was so. I guess it's a compliment.
Right.
Right? Because people like the knowledge, people like the entertainment, people like the guests, people like a little bit of Kevin Ross in their life. Makes me feel good about myself without bragging. And damn, I want to be there. I want to be in India.
Sure.
I want to go back to India and do the show. I want to go back to Beijing and like do another show in Shanghai. I want to go back to Singapore. I mean, the wanderlust has not left me. If you were to line up me and ask me like all the favorite things in my life, it's going to be like the Beastie Boys, travel, hotels, wine, beer, and spirit. I'll put them all together. Food, great parties, good conversation, teaching myself something new every day.
Right.
And I have so many friends. When I first got the job at Thirsty Traveler, I paid the $450 to play in my adult hockey rec league. Right. I didn't make one game.
Yeah.
And this was my support group. This was my man bunch, right?
Yeah.
And they would phone, and this isn't a day of answering machines,
right?
And home phone numbers.
Yes.
And I remember coming home a couple times after being on the road for a long time. There would be one message, and no messages, or one guy calling to try and replace the blinds in my house.
Right.
And it was really sad. And I don't blame the guys for not calling, but they know that you're out living the dream. And it made me think about some of the guys on my team that I know have really horrible mundane jobs. And I felt for them. I mean, they might have been enjoying their life and getting by and doing
Right.
well, but I'm kind of going like, I'm killing it, you know. And
And I
then
don't want to trade places.
I don't want to trade places. And when I get to the pub, I just want to be one of the guys. I just want to talk about shit, you know. And
Right.
and they're like, so tell me, what was Russia like? Oh my God, what was Taipei like? It must have been amazing. I'm like, oh God, like, bore me with your banking stuff, you
Right.
know.
Let's talk about your work for a while.
Yeah, because it's very important to me, right? You know, I in my skills growing up and doing radio and television, I learned how to become a really decent interviewer. Um, but it's also you can teach that, but you can't really teach it. You
Right.
have to want to listen to the other side of the table. Like I said, I'm going to interview you. I've asked you questions today because I'm interested in your story. I can't learn if I just keep regurgitating the same stuff out of my mouth about me. You know, I
Right.
need to hear something from you and compare and contrast, you know, or align, and that's what makes, and a lot of this stuff goes on in bars, you know, which is another kind of big heartstring for me is, you know, these are places, the best place to agree to disagree is at a bar or a pub,
Right.
you know, if done in the right way.
Right. Going back to the original part of this conversation was at the end of the war, the end of the battle that day.
They said, dudes, we're done. Let's we'll go back to our tent, clean up.
Yeah.
They didn't clean up.
No.
But let's meet and agree to disagree or agree to agree.
Yeah.
You know, and it was always.
Exactly.
But never in a martini glass. Maybe Winston Churchill.
Yes, maybe.
I think Winston Churchill probably had a nice, you know, Plymouth gin or, you know.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah. So this is what kind of fuels me on good days. Yeah.
That's awesome. So now we're talking about everybody wants Thirsty to come back on.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot, which again is it's bittersweet, and it really does inspire me, and it tells me that I had a purpose,
right?
And it tells me that I'm a good person, I think, you know, and God, I want it back as much as everybody.
Well, like I said, maybe we start an online drive for that.
Yeah, I mean, we built the show in a different day and a different age because we were like early 2001. Believe it or not, there were no cell phones really.
Right.
I mean, nobody had a cell phone in 2001. So no, actually, no. 1998 was the cell phone, but people didn't. Not everybody was on the. Sure. Not everybody was on the internet.
No.
You know,
well, and if you were, you had to wait 6 hours for it to dial up.
Right. We were just faxing each other. Fax.
Yeah, fax machine.
What was that noise that made?
About passports. But I said, your passport must be like a goddamn phone book.
What's a phone book?
Right?
I'm a millennial. Right. I don't even know what a phone book is.
You used to set your TV dinner on it.
Oh, that's right. Or sit on it if you needed a couple extra inches, or hold the door open. Yeah, so we built it in a different day and age, and you know, I put my heart and soul into the production of the show, not keeping up with technology. So what we need to decide, and what I'll look for as many friends. If anybody's out there watching that wants to get involved and participate, you know, get in touch with me. I'm very accessible via social media. If I don't get back to you on the very first try, it's nothing personal. I don't know what my experience was like with you. I can't remember, but I just got to decide whether we want to build it raw and real and shoot it on iPhones. If, you know, if there's money to support us shooting it on large format, digital, you know, there's so many there's people doing so much good work already right now, just on phone cameras,
right,
and things like that, and like this.
Yeah.
Do I bring people to me? I don't really want that, because I want the air miles.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I want the plane experience.
Well,
I love 16-hour flights.
Having a conversation about the locale is half of the
it's half of the draw. It's half of the experience, right? It's what sells you. These guys, when we were in Greece, when we were in Lesvos, the island of Lesvos, and we were doing our story on Ouzo, and we were with the Yanatsi family. It sounds like I'm saying Nazi, but they were called the Yanatsi family. And they gave us a couple of thank you bottles to take home with them. We really enjoyed our time and experience there. And we shot that in August or September, but there was one night in January where I ran out of shit to drink in my house, and we were watching Saturday Night Live. I was like, I'll break out the Ouzo. And I'm going like, I've had this Ouzo on the Aegean Sea with fresh sardines, 2 minutes, flash fried each side, just a bit of olive oil and hit with some hard rock salt, right? Okay. And I'm going, and you're drinking it there, and you see the color of the water, and you see the sunset. And even though I don't really love the anise flavor of Ouzo,
right,
there was nothing better in the world. And you know what's one of the worst things in the world? Drinking Ouzo on a snowy Saturday night in January in Toronto. There's no place or context, right? And it shows you the importance of the experience.
For sure.
And it shows you, to be able to hang out with some of the people that make this stuff, that live their lives doing this.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I said about the chefs, right? The chef goes to work every night in his kitchen, right? And that's where he is. And people come in and come out and come in and come out, and like different experiences for all the people up here. But for him, it's the same thing. Even for the Ouzo makers, it's kind of the same thing, because they're going to work every day to do something that they have to love.
Yeah.
Right. And my ability to have been able to float through all of that and float in and out of other people's lives and experiences is a responsibility to me to tell their story properly.
Absolutely. Well,
and I know I can do it. I think I'm good at it. I'm honest at it. I really value the time spent with the friends and the family, you included, right? It's a short life, and it's getting shorter. And I've got all the fight in me to get another show up. I'm just figuring out how to do it. Do we
you've got the right idea?
Startup? Do we?
I love the iPhone idea.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to that technology. It's just I was born from a school where you need a camera, a proper camera, and I was hoping it was my mom.
Tell her I said hi.
It's not. I did that once on stage, and it was my mom.
Oh.
And it was the best, because I had the microphone and I held it up to the phone. We got everybody to say hi, Mom.
Yeah.
And then proceededly, embarrassed her. I said, this is the one that smoked during pregnancy. That's why I'm average height for a guy born in the year that I was born. And my mom didn't really speak to me for like 2 months.
Right. That'll do it.
I think if that's how you want to piss off your mom, blaming her for your height because she smoked. I don't know if she smoked during pregnancy. I think she drank during pregnancy. I don't think she smoked.
Funny. So I see your 2019 post on the back. We talked about that just for a second before we went live. But I mean, being Kevin Brosh, I never expect you to be sitting still at any point.
No, I hate it. It's bad for the lens.
Yeah, but you've been all over these different places this year. Let's talk about it.
Holbox, Mexico, which is the new Mayan Riviera. Mayan Riviera, it's like, it's so hippie. They only have golf carts. All the taxis, all the bicycle or golf cart.
Perfect.
I mean, they have fire trucks, but like nobody owns a car on the island.
Awesome.
Wabash. It's about 2 hours north of Cancun.
Yeah.
Tahiti's. Went to Tahiti.
Nice.
That was fun. Stayed in one of those above, water
grass hut type of things.
Fort Erie. How does that fit in?
Tropical.
I went down to open up a guy's cottage, a friend of mine's cottage. I had to do nothing but rake leaves and cut wood and trim branches. Still, it made the list. Canmore.
Up the road.
Beautiful place. Had a really good weekend. I was out there in June. This one, not till next week, but I knew I was going, so it made the list. I'm going down there to do good work. I got 7 days, and I'd never been to Puerto Vallarta before. I'd been to Mexico a dozen times, but never that town. So that's going to be fun. One of my loves, Trinidad, Port of Spain.
Trinidad for the food, Kevin.
Oh, man, the doubles, the breakfast shed, the bacon shark, unbelievable. And then Key West right there, see? And I made this myself.
Fantastic.
I practice art therapy. It keeps me happy. No, I really did. Look at the back. It looks like you can't buy this in a store.
No.
This is the back. This is the front. It's a good reminder for when I go insane.
That's awesome. So tomorrow you have an event.
Yeah, I'm doing a. God, I've done this for. Let me just check sure. Yeah, we're good. You're happy?
Yeah, we're good.
I've done an annual beer dinner with a group of pubs in Ontario that I really adore. We don't really use the word gastropub here in Canada the way it's used in Europe.
Right.
Really high quality pub. It's a step above. It's a small chain of 3 restaurants, but it's not like a massive chain. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to diss any of the big boys, the Caras or the Circors or anything like that. Because I go to those, I frequent those ones as well. But if I was going to work with somebody, I wanted to be able to make sure that I could come in, I could curate a list of beers that were right for the season, if there was new and exciting stuff, if there was something on trend, and at least push the kitchen to their max in terms of the menu selection, recipe development. At the end of the day, I get to walk in there, act like I own the place, and then they kick me out. Right. So I understand the optics of running a restaurant, and let's say dirty restaurant secret. Can we hashtag this dirty restaurant secret?
Absolutely.
Knowing when you got to put something on special to unload the freezer.
Right.
Right. So, but I'll fight them tooth and nail on what I believe is the right selection of food and try and give them options. And go, this is one of the ones we're serving tomorrow night. I'm giving these guys a free plug. I chose this. They're not giving me anything. They're not supplying. They're not paying. Right. But I think it's a great beer, and it could have worked in the soup, the appetizer, or the entree position. And we're going to do it in the entree position with some pork schnitzel.
Nice.
And a nice green and red cabbage slaw. But like these are the things that excite me. They sometimes seem like they can get in the way of things. And I think in the past, historically with me, sometimes these events have been what's kept me from being on the fast track with Thirsty Traveler. Because there is a lot of work that goes in. I don't phone anything in. Like if I'm going to do something, I do something. Right. I believe in that morally, I try and teach that, and I try and practice that every day. If I was just going to show up to an event and go, I don't know what you're going to serve, and I don't care what the beers are, and let's just use your regular selection, and I'll just get up on stage and tell some jokes. What would be the point of that?
No substance to it.
There's no substance, and in almost everything I try and practice, I really do. I try and practice substance. So tomorrow night, we should hopefully have a group of between 60 and 80 people. You get 5 beers, 4 courses, way too much food, way too much food. I've talked about like just parent, well, they don't know how to do it.
Right.
You know, kind of like, you can't finish. Who eats 4 courses anymore? When was the last time you went out for a 4-course meal?
Oh,
and finished it?
New Year's in 2011.
Soup, salad, entree, dessert, and 5 beers. Come on, you got to be a pig dog.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, the value is there. It's $50. You know, if you have a ticket, I will see you there tomorrow night. I will still be in puberty mode, but I will be ramped on all cylinders. And if you don't have a ticket, you can just show up at the door and the pub will make it work, because these are the types of places I choose to work with. I spend my time and energy on people that I believe and people that I know can represent me in the best possible light and them in the best possible light, right? So, you know, the old pub, the Poorhouse, or Finn's Temple Bar, which just unfortunately closed down in downtown Toronto at King and Spadina. Condo development, go figure.
Right.
They have one of the cleanest kitchens I've ever seen in the city of Toronto. You know, and that always impressed on me. And their chef Patrick, Guyanese, brother of mine, he is like, he knows, like, I'm gonna push him, right? And he always makes the soup from scratch. And there's always like sort of, let's say, an international appetizer. And then there's just the right entree for the right time of the year.
This is the key to a good pub, is the soup.
Right. That's your tell, right? I go into pubs, I want nachos and wings, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. But if they have a good soup, you're in good hands in that pub.
Yep, absolutely.
You said that. I learned that at Popper's Pub in downtown Toronto. You know, there's certain dishes that come in from the trucks, and there's certain dishes that the chefs are allowed to make.
Right.
The Rosencrown in Toronto, their pad thai is made by the Sri Lankan guys, and they Sunday night or Thursday night is pad thai night, and it's their night to shine in the kitchen.
Awesome.
Yeah, but the soup is the tell. The soup is like your poker face.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yep. So your upcoming schedule for where you're going to be is on your website, yes?
Yes, it is. Correct, kevinbroush.com. Tomorrow night we're in Guelph. Next week we got the 25th anniversary Gourmet Food and Wine Show in downtown Toronto, which is sold out every year. I go down there and I, you know, walk the floor and see all my vendor friends in the industry and catch up and learn some stuff myself. And it's a great opportunity to buy Christmas gifts, enjoy yourself, you know, learn a couple of new things, see what's on trends, and just kind of keep yourself inspired, which I think is a thing that guys in the industry, I think we're getting better at that. I think we're really understanding that we need to inspire ourselves. And I think our support group, you know, I'm noticing that there are in Toronto, and it might sound a bit goofy. I don't know what it's like in Calgary, but I assume it's absolutely the same because we're brothers. There's like yoga for bartenders, right? But I because you know you're on your feet all day, sore back, you're moving stuff around, you know. Maybe cut out the drinking a bit less, try and go to bed in a better state of mind, wake up, go to work in a better state of mind.
Right.
You know, I think we are thinking of ourselves more now than ever.
Yeah.
And then I do an add-on event. I do 2 hours of me doing this in a room. We do wine, beer, spirit, and cocktails. You get about 8 drinks samples over 2 hours. So we're just pushing the legal limit.
Yes.
And knowing me, I don't know.
Like my son moves the line in the sand.
I move the line in the carpet for sure. And it's really good fun. And I've been doing this for 15 years as well. So I sell out every year, but you still got a week to get tickets. And I cook my own snacks.
Awesome.
If there's one place that I act like I own it, it's the Metro Toronto Convention Center. Like, I'm walking in there. I'm bringing in my own food.
Nice.
Bringing it to guests. I mean, there are health and safety regulations. I adhere to all of them.
Right.
You know, but we're just.
So on that, I have to ask, because I have to touch back to Iron Chef. So any cooking techniques or tips that you went, damn, and have carried that with you?
Batali always battled second. Batali he always liked the morning battles, so he could get back to his restaurants.
Yeah.
Flay preferred the afternoon battles.
Right.
And then everybody else was just kind of hit and miss, I believe. But those were the two that like had a definitive spot. You were always going to have Batali in the morning. If you ever got Flay in the morning, we call it a hangover battle, because you knew his first 15 minutes. So you could have an extra beer at the end of the night when you're in Manhattan.
Right.
Going like, he's going to make his red sauce, he's going to make his green sauce, he's going to like try and open up a can with a pineapple juice with the back end of his knife. And
yep.
I'm sleeping through this. But Batali would always make the Bellini. He would always make a Bellini. He was the first guy to really bring a cocktail into the Kitchen Stadium. That was a great allowance for Elton to talk to me more and show off some of my acumen about what I knew about like Calvados or brandy, things like that. Not that they were in Bellinis, but and Batali would always put his hand on the back of the judge, like calm them down and warm them up.
Right.
And the thing I learned, that it's just a game, right? Yeah. It really is. Iron Chef is just a game. As of all the other shows are just a game. If I know that I've cooked a PB, a personal best, on this dish, I've cooked this dish 100 times, but in this foreign kitchen in Manhattan, and we were out late last night because we don't live in Manhattan. We live in Austin, Texas, but we came here and we hit the city hard. And now I'm here in a foreign kitchen and I don't know anything about where anything is, but I've kicked the shit out of this dish, right?
Yeah.
I know I can't do it any better. I know I've never done it any better. It's still up to 3 other people to decide that.
Right.
So it's how you engage with them, because that's just the game, right? Sure. You're there to grow yourself. You're there to earn points. Nobody remembers who won or lost. Nobody remembers if Guarnaschelli, beat anybody, but you can say that you were there, and you know that you need a new publicist, probably some new marketing, and a brand new phone system or open table. Definitely, if you don't have that at your restaurant, because you're going to be flooded, because you had that 1 hour of great exposure, win or lose, good or bad. Susur's 2 sous chefs cut themselves in the first 8 minutes of battle, which has never been done before. Susur Lee also brought in the 2 youngest sous chefs we've ever seen in Kitchen Stadium history, right? Rusty and Bart, and they're the 18 each. And if you want to if you cut yourself or burn yourself in Kitchen Stadium, which is almost 100% accuracy rate, right? You want to do it later in the battle, because all of the chief work is being done at the beginning. The fact that they got hit so hard early, Susur was lucky with that tie that he had with Bobby Flay, and I don't say that with any disrespect to Susur, because Susur and I are very good friends. Right. He's the only man I've ever bought an orchid for.
Appropriately.
For Chinese New Year, when I was invited to his restaurant. But it's a 1 in 3 on Iron Chef, right? Because we need your advanced menus so we can fill the pantry appropriately. Right. So you go in there and it's 1 in 3, but the home court advantage for Iron Chef is almost, again, sports analogies. It's so in the favor of the Iron Chefs, because they're there every, I've been to Pittsburgh to play in the Pittsburgh Stadium before, and I'm from Texas. This is the very first time you're walking in there. There's 17 cameras. There's dry ice. You got makeup on. Right. And they go, don't get makeup on your chef coat, chef, or we're going to have to get you a new chef coat. And you're like, and you've gone out last night to 4 different restaurants. You went to Baloo. You went to Bernardin. You went to all of the great restaurants. because you never get to go to New York City because you're in Austin, Texas, running your successful restaurant. And you walk in there and it's like, deer in the headlights, right?
Yeah.
So for those guys to achieve any sense of success with like Chuck Hughes, right?
Yeah.
It is really significant. Like Chuck just died. I don't cheat for the Canadians. Bobby Flay always accused me of cheating for the Canadians. Bobby Flay, I think Bobby Flay, well, he battled more Canadians than any other Iron Chef, yeah. But I think he almost battled all of them with the exception of one or two. Chuck Hughes was deflated. He made his lobster claw Caesar, right, which is on the menu at his restaurant in Montreal. Sure. He basically now just cooks his Iron Chef menu.
Right. That's what people want.
Why not? Why not?
Yep.
I love Chuck. But he came back to his station, and I don't cheat for the Canadians, but I said to him, look, dude, it's a game. Pick your ass up and smile a little bit.
Yeah.
And he went back up there, and there was a National Post article, and he talked about the little mini pep talk that I gave him. And I don't consider that cheating. I was just like, come on. It's television. It's all it is.
Right.
You know, but you got to want to do it. You know, you got to want to do it. And you got to want to have the ability to take the decision, and you have to know how to play the game.
Yeah.
And you have to want to learn, right? Because cooking out of your environment is a terrifying and wonderful experience.
How many chefs go in there and meet Alton Brown and go, my God, how the hell does he know everything?
Everybody. Everybody.
He knows everything.
Well, in my job, yeah, he does look things up during the show.
I'm sure he does.
But he probably knows it. He's just making sure he knows it so they don't have to cut it out of the show. But if he wants an odd fact about cremini mushrooms or something like that, or ossa busca, you know, my job was to be his wingman and to always protect him. And if he ever called on me, I had to have something to say. Even in battles like where there was nothing to say, I'm just waiting for him to come to me because he's going, we could read, we could feel, we were emotive with the battle, right?
Yeah.
And we would go like, this is a boring battle. There's nothing going on. I'm going like, he's going to go into this computer. Yeah, he's going into his computer. I got to find something to say in about 30 seconds. And then he goes, Kevin Brock's on the floor. And I'm like, but I always backed him up, and I was his wingman. And I told him this, and I actually interviewed him once for a podcast where I got to interview him.
Awesome.
And I told him, I said, you know, I'm like Goose and you're Maverick, you know, this Top Gun. And he goes, you're Goose? He goes, you die.
Oh, no.
And I go, dude, it's been a good run. Dude, what can I say? And sure enough, I died. Canadian content, gone. But no, I whenever I was down, I'd go down there for about 43, 47, 50 days at a time and stay in a hotel, which is tough work.
Yeah.
Right. But being in Manhattan in the meatpacking district, glorious work, you know, and expensive work because the per diem does not cover shit in New York City. Right.
No.
Bagel and a coffee and my per diem's gone. But to be involved with that family and see the work we did and to know that we got 244 shows or whatever it is, 214 to 244, I can't remember.
Exactly.
But to know that we bested, you know, the original, which was what we were, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? We were grown underneath them, right? Was just so highly enjoyable. And to even see, like I always say, battle frozen green peas was the most amazing battle I've ever seen. And yet it was a Wednesday afternoon battle, and it was like, oh my God, I might as well like have a couple of drinks before I do this, because this is going to be like, couldn't believe what they came up with on frozen green peas. We were still learning and still exploring, and we were still like fascinated by the subject material. You can know everything you want to know about frozen green peas, and then you put them in the hands of two talented chefs on game day, and to break your brain. You know,
Awesome.
And I got to be, you know, part of that. So that's pretty fantastic, dude.
That's cool. You know, I was so looking forward to having this chat with you, and not just talking about traveling, not just talking about Thirsty Travel, but talking about, you know, just the industry and food and all of our passions, our mutual passions, obviously. And it's been awesome. You know, I want to thank you so much for your time and for honoring me with it as well. We're on streaming on LinkedIn Live, on Periscope around the globe. People can find this on YouTube once we do post-production, put our logos up on there and all of that. You can find Kevin in anywhere from Mexico to Tahiti to Trinidad.
Canmore to Fort Erie.
Or Fort Erie, on the rare occasion, or even in Canmore up the road from where we are in Calgary today.
What's it like out there snow-wise, weather-wise?
You know what? It's +4. A little snow on the ground. Just a little.
We got 6 inches last night. We got our first hit. It stinks.
This is about round 6 for us. The city of Calgary spent $30,000 of their $39,000 snow removal already. I'm not sure what they're doing with the money, but there it is. So we look forward to a very ugly February.
Hey, if you ever need somebody to fill in, if somebody ever cancels.
Hey, God love you, as we say.
We the North.
We the North.
We're all the North. All the North. We lost last night to the Clippers, but whatevs.
But we're still the champs.
We're still the champs.
Still the champs.
You're a champ, my friend.
Here's to Kevin Brock.
Chef, you're a champ.
Thank you so much. We'll do this again.
We better. I know where you live.
Yeah, that's it. Take care, Kevin.